Real estate investing has always been sold as something that requires connections, capital, and years of experience to even understand. I decided to test whether AI could flatten that learning curve completely. I spent 30 days using Claude to research markets, analyze deals, and understand the fundamentals of real estate investing from scratch. Here's what I found, and some of it genuinely surprised me. Before I get into the results, let me tell you why most beginners never get started with real estate in the first place. It's not the money. It's the complexity. Cap rates, cash-on-cash returns, debt service coverage ratios, net operating income. The terminology alone is enough to make most people close the browser and go back to their day job. AI eliminates that barrier entirely. Here's how. The first thing I did was ask Claude to explain real estate investing from the very beginning. Not a textbook definition, a plain English explanation of every major strategy available to a beginner with limited capital. What it produced in about 45 seconds would have taken me a week to piece together from articles and forums. Claude laid out 4 beginner-friendly entry points. REITs, real estate investment trusts, which let you invest in real estate like a stock with as little as $1. House hacking, buying a small multi-unit property, living in one unit, and renting the others to cover your mortgage. Wholesaling, finding undervalued properties and selling the contract to investors for a fee without ever buying the property yourself. And long-term rental properties, the classic buy, rent, and hold strategy that builds wealth through appreciation and cash flow over time. For a complete beginner with limited capital, Claude recommended starting with REITs to understand how real estate performs as an asset class before committing to a physical property. That recommendation alone saved me from making the most common beginner mistake, jumping into a physical property before understanding the fundamentals. The second thing I tested was using AI to analyze an actual deal. I found a rental property listing online, a small 2-bedroom house listed at $180,000 in a mid-sized city. I gave Claude the listing price, the estimated monthly rent from comparable properties in the area, and the local property tax rate. Then I asked it to calculate the cap rate, the cash-on-cash return assuming a 20% down payment, and the monthly cash flow after estimated expenses. Claude walked me through every calculation step by step. It explained what each number meant and what range was considered acceptable for a rental property investment. It flagged that the cap rate on this particular property was below the threshold most experienced investors use as a minimum, meaning the deal looked attractive on the surface but wouldn't generate meaningful cash flow after expenses. That analysis took about 5 minutes. A real estate attorney or financial advisor would charge hundreds of dollars for the same output. The third thing I used AI for was market research. Most beginner real estate investors make their decisions based on where they live, not where the numbers make sense. I asked Claude to explain what factors make a real estate market attractive for investors in 2026. Population growth, job market diversity, rent-to-price ratios, landlord-friendly legislation, vacancy rates. Claude produced a clear framework for evaluating any market against those criteria. I then asked it to apply that framework to 3 specific cities I was considering. The analysis it produced identified which market had the strongest fundamentals for a beginner rental property investor and why. That kind of market research used to require expensive subscriptions to data platforms and hours of manual analysis. AI does it in minutes. The fourth thing I discovered, and this is the part that genuinely surprised me, is how useful AI is for understanding real estate contracts and legal documents. I found a standard lease agreement template online and asked Claude to explain every clause in plain English. It flashed 2 clauses that were unusually landlord unfavorable in my state. It explained what each section meant for my rights and responsibilities as a landlord. It suggested questions I should ask a real estate attorney before signing anything. Claude is not a lawyer. It cannot give legal advice. But as a research tool for understanding what you're looking at before you pay for professional advice, it's remarkable. Here is the honest summary of what 30 days of AI-assisted real estate research taught me. Real estate investing is not as complicated as the industry makes it appear. The terminology is intimidating by design. It filters out people who aren't serious. AI removes that filter. Anyone with a Claude account and a willingness to ask good questions can understand real estate fundamentals well enough to make an informed first investment decision. What AI cannot do is replace due diligence, local market knowledge, or professional legal and financial advice for large transactions. Use it as your research starting point, not your final answer. Start with REITs if you have limited capital. Use Claude to understand how they work, which ones have the strongest historical performance, and how they fit into your overall investment strategy. Then, when you're ready for a physical property, you'll have the knowledge base to evaluate deals intelligently instead of guessing. If you want the free resource I use to track all my tools and systems, grab it in the description. Everything is linked there. Subscribe to this channel because every week I test the tools, run the research, and publish exactly what I find, so you can make smarter decisions faster without spending years figuring it out yourself. The next video covers one of the most powerful ways to build online income in 2026. And it's something most people haven't considered yet. That one is worth staying for.